Welcome back, guys. And today I'm going to be hitting you with this is the top 25 Bond villains at the time recording this. So I'm going to rank all 25 main Bond villains from each Bond movie. So obviously, villains that might be second in command or henchmen are not going to be named in this. This is just whoever the primary villain of that movie is. I'm going to be ranking those. So even you might have duplicate characters, but they're played by other people. So I'm going to be ranking those in order. All right, let's do it. Number 25, I got Brad Whitaker from The Living Daylights. So The Living Daylights is not a Bond movie that I'm very fond of. And when I watched it, I got done with it. And I was like, one, I didn't care for the Afghanistan sequence because it just felt so long, and I just got bored. But two, I'm like, is that really like a finale against a Bond villain? I'm like, he goes into his little playroom and he's got some stupid gun that's got a shield that protects this. But it's there's nothing to protect your stomach if I just shoot at your body. So that was kind of weird, to be honest. And the guy that played him, he got a lot better role once he started playing Jack Wade in GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies. So for me, just not a strong villain. I mean, he's just kind of a joke of a villain, and that's a sad thing. But I don't care for him at all. He's obviously dead last for me. All right, number 24. I got Christatos from For Your Eyes Only. Now, anyone that does the Bond villain rankings, this is one that you knew was going to be at the very bottom. Julian Glover plays Christatos, and he's a guy that has done great work in, Game of Thrones, Indiana Jones, and The Last Crusade, and then he was briefly in Empire Strikes Back. He, his screen presence, when he's talking, there's nothing bad about it. When you see him on screen, you're like, yeah, he looks like he could be a Bond villain. But he just, I don't know if they didn't give him anything to work with, but he doesn't say anything clever, has no witty banter, no awesome dialogue. It's just kind of all plain and boring. And then the finale, once James actually climbs that mountain and gets to, the surface of it, there's nothing interesting that really happens. Christatos basically just does some goofy run, gets tripped up, and then it just was all, it didn't hold through. And like I said, when you get done watching For Your Eyes Only, you're like, wow, he really wasn't a strong villain at all. So nothing remarkable about his plan. He's a very ordinary guy, which for a Bond villain, that's not really what you want. You either want awesome plan, awesome lair, awesome, henchman, or just an awesome performance, but you don't really get any of those. So that's all bad. Okay. Number 23. This is going to piss some people off. I don't really care. I got Blofeld, played by Telly Savalas from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I have no idea why people rank this in such high regard. He's got a cool voice, I'll give you that, but nothing that he says is all that interesting to me. His plot, I still need someone to explain to me what the plot of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the villain's plot, what was it? Mind control or something? Brainwashing? I have no idea. I can't fathom why people, like I said, I kind of get the love story that why people like it, but I don't think we have a great Bond in that, and I don't think we have a great Blofeld either. People have brought this up, and I agree with them. We get done with You Only Live Twice. James Bond and Blofeld have a face-to-face confrontation. Then we go into the next movie, and James Bond is walking around in disguise, but not really, as just another guy with glasses on. And Blofeld, have no idea that's James Bond, because in that world, I guess they hadn't met before. Just weird. I don't like the continuity issues. And, I don't dig his performance. I don't think he was as amazing as everyone makes him out to be. So, I'm going to move on to number 22. I got A View to a Kill, Max Zorin. So, Max Zorin, I love Christopher Walken. Don't get me wrong. Everyone loves Christopher Walken. But Max Zorin, he's just boring to me. There was nothing that he did that I found all that interesting. I mean, the guy was like, well, that would make me, dead. I don't know. That just seemed like some silly writer was like, oh, that'd be a good line for Christopher Walken. But his plan kind of convoluted, something with computer chips and wanting to flood Silicon Valley. And he's a KGB super soldier Nazi experiment. I have no idea. I don't even think he was all that interesting. Goldfinger could have had that backstory, and that's not what would have made him interesting. It's just the fact that he's, Goldfinger. But A View to a Kill, like I said, none of it worked with me. The only thing that works is the song. That's it. Other than that, there's nothing about that movie that I care for. And Max Zorin, Christopher Walken, It's not a knock on him, but when I see Christopher Walken on screen, I see Christopher Walken. I don't see like you're a villain in a Bond movie. Everyone says that. I've seen a lot of people go, Christopher Walken plays a great Bond villain. Like he was made to be a Bond villain. And I'm like, no, Christopher Walken's like quirky and interesting and weird. I think he'd make like a good mob boss in a movie. I just don't think he makes a great Bond villain when he gets so much screen time, and we have to be like he's fascinating, but I don't think he's fascinating when you're like expecting him to do just evil deeds, because Christopher Walken's like chaos. It's like you don't know what's going to happen. He might do something evil, but he might say something and do something good. You never know. Okay, on to the next one. I got Safin from No Time to Die. I really didn't like his... The only reason I'm putting him above these other guys is because I really, 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 really disliked their performances, or they were boring, because that's the worst thing you could be. He's just... This guy's over the top. He's just... The way he talks is, I have given them a choice, or I am their god now. I am their silent god. He's not realistic. I don't think that anyone would be out there either doing this stuff or talking like that. I didn't find him... I'll give him this. The opening scene where he's going to Madeline's house when she's a young girl, that's scary. When he is by the window, that's scary. When he comes in, great cinematography, the way they did that. But that's it. And that's not really his performance. That's just like him walking around with the mask on. It's really the mask and the music and the imagery that makes it creepy. It's not really his acting. But yeah, once we get him with nothing on, no mask on, anything like that, I didn't care for his plot of, wanting to kill all of Spectre, I guess, but it just seems like a way to wrap everything up, and it doesn't really seem like that's actually what the villain's plot would be, or what his motivation would be. And yeah, I didn't really care for any of it. I'm not going to look back at any of the scenes and be like, oh, I can't wait to get to that scene with the villain. Like, there really isn't any like that. Not even the part where he has Mathilde and he's holding her hostage. That's not a great scene for me. I guess if I had to pick one, if it's not the intro, I'd say it's where he visits Madeline, and lets her, and sees the mask, shows her the mask. That'd probably be my favorite with him in it, but even still, that's not that high of a rating for me for wanting to watch his movie again. Okay, so that's it for that one. Next, I got Christoph Waltz's Blofeld from Spectre, number 20. Really rewatching Spectre again, it's weird. I think I like Spectre more than a lot of people, while at the same time, I completely get why people don't like this movie, because Christoph Waltz is just miscast as Blofeld. He's not intimidating. Blofeld, what makes him intimidating is quiet, silent, doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does, it's like everyone listens. And Christoph Waltz is the opposite. He's always got something to say. He talks about cuckoo and all this other weird stuff. He's doing all this because James became his brother, and he basically was like, oh, I don't like that my dad likes you more than me, or something like that. It just all seems really weird. When you break it down to Christoph Waltz has daddy issues, it's just kind of... I don't like that choice. And like I said, it's just his performance overall. If I had to pick a favorite moment from Spectre with him, it's when he's in the dark and James shows up to that Spectre meeting, and you see his dark face basically turn to James and be like, oh, hello, James. That was good. That's a good scene. But everything else I feel like that he does throughout the movie doesn't really work. I mean, I do kind of I like the finale in the sense of when they go back to the old MI6 and he's set up kind of a little fun house for James to figure some stuff out, and takes Madeline. I did like that, but it's weird. I would have preferred if Silva from Skyfall rigged that up and that was the finale of that movie, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, so that's it for 20. Number 19, I got another Blofeld. I'm kind of knocking all the Blofelds out. I got Charles Gray, his Blofeld from Diamonds Are Forever. I can have a good time with that Blofeld. He's kind of quirky and a little weird, but he's not one of my favorites. I don't find him he's not intimidating, really. He's just kind of a quirky, weird guy. But I'm for Diamonds Forever, I just sit back, turn my brain off, and I'm just I'll have a good time with it. So nothing too crazy from him, but he doesn't annoy me. I know some people really don't like his performance. Obviously, it doesn't feel always like the same character, but I'm even if you take out that it's Blofeld, I'll still roll with this is just some guy that's running this Vegas operation. I'm I'll roll with that. And that, to me, Diamonds is just a decent time. Okay, number 18, which people probably expected this higher, I got Dominic Green from Quantum of Solace. Dominic Green, at least before he gets to the climax of the movie, is he super intimidating? No, but I don't think he was designed to be that way because he's basically setting it up. That's like, okay, you may not be scared of me, but you should be scared of the people I work for. And I think that works. And when he's talking to the general at the end, and he was like, he's like, you can either sign that, or he's like, if you don't want to sign it, he's like, that's fine. He's like, but tomorrow morning you'll wake up with your balls in your mouth, and he's like, and your replacement standing over you. And I'm like, that's a really good line, because he's not saying I'm going to do that. He's saying if something happens to me, these are the people that are going to come after you. He loses a lot of credibility basically when he like does his fight with James, and he's like, ah! Like that was a little freaky, and he's such a small man that he's not really intimidating. All in all, I think he was miscast. But that being said, the guy that they got as Dominic Green, I think he tried with what he was given, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm okay. I'm okay with Dominic Green. Like watching Dominic Green, I'm not sitting there like, oh God, I'm angry at this performance. I'm like, I accept that as Quantum of Solace, and that's okay, and I could be along for the ride. Obviously, he's never going to be one of the strongest villains, and that just is what it is. Okay, number 17, I got Kamal Khan from Octopussy. Now, if I rewatch Octopussy, because I've only seen it once, if I rewatch it, he might rank higher for me, possibly. But for right now, he's not intimidating enough, and he doesn't have he's got a decent amount of screen time, but because he has to split the villain role with Steven Berkoff, I forgot what the general's name is that he plays, Orlov? I might have that wrong. But I like Kamal Khan, and I like Louis Jourdain, I think is his name. I liked his performance, and he's definitely interesting. He's quirky, and he's different from any other Bond villain we really had at that point. I just would have wanted more of him as the main villain, and not. I didn't care for the general at all. I didn't care for that plot at all, and that's why Octopussy's kind of not one of my higher ranked Bond films, just because I find it kind of convoluted. But Kamal Khan, I would have liked to see more of him. So it's like it's kind of like I give his performance a good rating, but they didn't give us enough, or I would have liked to see more from Octopussy. Okay, number 16, I got Largo from Thunderball. Now, his look, Largo's got a great look. He's got the eye patch. He's got the sharks, which is cool. I think correct me if I'm wrong, I thought his performance is dubbed, but I might be wrong on that. But I know they did dub some of the lines, because some of the times he's saying something, it doesn't sound like it doesn't look like it's matching up and syncing. But he's fine. I think we've now gotten past to like we've gotten past the bad performances, or there's something wrong. There's really nothing wrong with his performance. There's just nothing spectacular, or there's nothing great about his background. We really don't know much about his background. We just know he's number 2 in Spectre. Yeah, I would have liked a little bit more from him, but I do like the scene at the casino where James walks up and he's like, oh, like I've seen a Spectre or something, and he just like looks up at him like, you're calling me out, like you know I'm in Spectre, and you're making that line right now. But yeah, like I said, I would have liked to see more from him, because he has a great look personally. And he's a little too nice to James. Like lets James get away with some stuff when he knows that James is like a spy. He's like, yeah, I won't kill you. I'll let you leave. To me, that's always been kind of weird. Okay, number 15, I got Stromberg from The Spy Who Loved Me. I've said this many times, I think he's easier to make fun of than even Blofeld is, because Blofeld, yeah, has got the cat, and he sits in his chair, and like you could be like, oh, don't show his face, it's just a man petting a white cat. But for me, Stromberg, he doesn't say anything interesting. When he's asked, like, why are you wanting to blow up or like, you want to destroy the world? No, I want to build a new one, like, under the water. It's like, why? I get that you like ocean life, but why? We don't really get, like, if I would have got a backstory of, this is what happened to him, like, early in his young adult life, he, was scorned by this, or just really hated people, he grew to hate people, I would have liked that a lot more, but we didn't get anything like that. And I just find him boring. The reason I gave him the edge over a guy like Largo is because I'm like, he's at least got a cooler layer than Largo. And, yeah, Largo has sharks, but this guy has sharks too. And he puts people into his shark tank, and it's a little different and cooler, drops them out from the elevator. So there's some cooler stuff. It just overall, his water base is just, there's more to do. So that's why I give him the edge, but I find him not bad, but just, there's nothing great. He's neutral to me. Stromberg's like the middle ground of a Bond villain. Some people really love him, and I'm just like, nah. And it's the sequel to Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker. We'll get to Drax, but basically, people pointed out that those are the same movies, basically. So it's like, why? Because I like Moonraker a lot more than I like The Spy Who Loved Me. And people are like, why? And I'm like, because Drax makes the difference. It's basically, yeah, it is the same movie, except Drax, for some whatever reason, just works better as a villain. Yeah, it's basically the same thing, but he just works better. But we'll get to him. Okay, so number 14. People were probably, if you're watching this, you're probably like, where the hell has this villain been? There's no way he should rank this high. Finally, you're going to get your wish. I got number 14, Gustav Graves from Die Another Day. Now, I fully admit that I love Die Another Day more than... I might be Die Another Day's biggest fan. Now, hold on. You might get someone that's the biggest Die Another Day fan, so maybe I'm not that. Because it ranks in my top 10 Bond films, just not... It's not the top 5. Give me 1 second. Ooh. Buddy Nick's going to have to edit that part out. Okay, so yeah, Die Another Day, Gustav Graves. The reason why I have him here is because he's at least interesting to me. Like, Al Stromberg, I'm like, there's not really a whole lot interesting with him. Gustav Graves is at least interesting. I love the concept of this Korean colonel that basically kind of had to fake his own death and then kind of has this second life. And, don't get me wrong, I wish that the guy that played Gustav Graves, I forgot what his actual name is, if he would have played him more like serious and not as like goofy. That's my only regret. My regret of that character. But there are some really good stuff in there. Like, I love when James and him first meet and he was like, have we met before? And he was like, no, I think I would have remembered that. And he's like, huh, interesting. It's just he's taunting James and like throwing him breadcrumbs and being like, you just don't get it yet. You don't get it yet. But I thought that was pretty smart. And like I said, I like his plot, actually. Everyone makes fun of the plot that it's way too over the top. Look, it's a Bond film. I'm okay with an over-the-top villain plot as long as it kind of makes sense. And to me, I don't mean like make sense as if it's plausible. I just more mean like, does it make sense that this is what, your motivation of what you're angry about, and this is what you're doing to, fix it. And for me, he wants a weapon that can basically wipe out all the mines that separate South Korea and North Korea, and that way his troops can be sent in and they can take South Korea. I think that's interesting. A satellite weapon that can swat anything from the sky that tries to knock it out, that's a very dangerous weapon. And the fact that you can just mow down stuff and melt everything, I'm like, that's pretty cool. Now, is it realistic that could get made? No, but I'm okay with it. It's a Bond film. So if the goofiness wasn't in Gustav Graves' character, like if there was no goofy stuff and he was way more serious and intimidating, he'd probably rank in my top 10. But as of right now, I got to leave him here because, like I said, he's at least interesting. Okay, but my dreams can kill you. All right, number 13, I got Kananga from Live and Let Die. Now, Live and Let Die is one of my favorite Bond films, and the reason I like Kananga is because he's a practical man. He's not trying to take over the world. He just wants drugs. He wants everyone to have drugs, and he wants to eventually take over the whole business where everyone's addicted to his drugs. And I like that. So for me, yeah, I give him 13. He plays Mr. Big as well, which I don't really care for that performance because he doesn't do that all that much. But yeah, Kananga, I like his dynamic with Solitaire where he's like, when he gets angry at her, it is kind of scary because he's like, when it was time to take your power, when I would take it, he's like, I would be the one to decide that. And he's like, you knew I would give you love. You knew that. He's frightening, but it's like realistic frightening. It's not like where he's trying to be over the top. It's like, this is a realistic guy that's upset that he's basically losing his girl. She got tainted. So yeah, I like his performance. His death is pretty impressive. How he goes out is pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Number 12, I got Red Grant from Russia with Love. Now, he's a guy that I think they could have done so much more with him where he could have ended up being like a top 5 Bond villain, but I get that the way it was written, the amount of screen time, and some people have put Colonel Pleb, I think is the girl's name. Rosie, I forgot her name. From Russia with Love. I could look it up real quick, but I'm not going to look it up. They put the older lady as the main villain, and I get it. She kind of is because she's pulling the strings, but at the same time, she's in the movie for, I want to say, 2 or 3 scenes. It's not a whole lot. She didn't have a whole lot of screen time. Red Grant, I feel like, is in it for more. So I give him the edge. And, yeah, I think he really works as he's basically, someone pointed out, he's like a mirror image James Bond. He's if you're a Flash fan, you got Flash. He's the reverse Flash, but he's like the reverse James Bond. He's blonde hair instead of dark hair. He works for Spectre instead of working for MI6. He is willing to kill people where James is only willing to kill bad guys. This guy's willing to kill anybody. So, yeah, and I think his silence throughout most of the movie is good. It works. And then when we get to him actually having to work with James or be introduced to James, he's real chatty. He's playing the part and everything like that. And then when he finally introduces James to who he really is, I like how he does it. And I like their fight. The fight in the train is a pretty legendary fight as far as Bond fans go. So yeah, I liked his performance. It just, if he was the guy pulling the strings or if he got more screen time, he would have ranked higher. All right, number 11, I got Blofeld from You Only Live Twice, played by Donald Pleasance. Now, going into this, I would have said, he's going to make my top 5, but then I thought about it, and I just liked all these other people a little bit more. But I think he's great. I just would have liked a little more. I would have liked a few more scenes with him and Bond, because really they don't get anything until the climax of the movie. And, he gets a throwing star put into his wrist, and then he is out of there. He escapes the volcano, I guess. But that Blofeld to me is my favorite Blofeld. And when I think of Blofeld as a character, that's who I think of. I think of Donald Pleasance's performance, because he made him creepy and intimidating and soft-spoken. He wasn't sitting there yelling the whole time. So I like that. And he's not saying stupid stuff like cuckoo or whatever. And he's got an amazing layer that plays into a part of his. The volcano layer is really cool. Picking Japan as a location is pretty cool. Just saying. And he's the one that spotted Bond. Bond was trying to get into the shuttle as an astronaut, and he's the one that was stop that guy. So it's he was smart in that movie. He also has the piranhas in You Only Live Twice, and drops his henchman that basically didn't obey his orders properly. I think that's the girl he drops in there. But yeah, good stuff. So I mean, I love, that's my favorite version of Blofeld. Okay, now we're getting to the top 10. So with number 10, I got Sanchez from License to Kill. Once again, I would have thought he was going to rank higher, but I just had to put some people above him. But he's a really great villain. The whole movie, the plot is basically just taking down this guy. It's not James is after this one thing, this one device, this, we got to stop nuclear warheads from destroying it. It's not that. It's just this guy is selling drugs, and we got to infiltrate his thing. And then it's about James wanting vengeance for what happened to Felix Leiter, his friend. And yeah, Sanchez is scary. He's soft-spoken. He really, people pointed out that the fact that he is so loyal and cares about loyalty is a different thing for villains, because most villains are all my henchmen are dispensable, and this guy's the opposite. He's no, if people are loyal to me, he's I'm going to be loyal to them, and I'm going to try to protect them. And if you break my loyalty, we got major problems. The scene where, I mean, it's a great scene when Pam and James plant the money in the bottom part of his boat, and he has one of his guys go check and finds the money, because he was already suspecting that one of his, coworkers was basically trying to screw him over. That scene where he confronts the guy about it, and then the guy's I don't know where that money came from. That's not mine. And he basically throws him in there, and he's you want it? He's have it. You can have all the money. Go for it. He's I don't care about the money. And he basically turns up that pressure, and the guy's head explodes. The head exploding is, it's a little much. It's some raunchy stuff, but I dug that. What he's driven about, I just think is cool, and how that one guy that breaks him out of being captured at the very beginning, and they're yeah, but he's a cop. You're gonna pay him. He's yeah, I'm gonna pay him his $2 billion because I said I would. Because it's if you don't keep up your word, it's you're gonna run out of people that want to work with you, and people are gonna backstab you. So yeah, I liked Sanchez a lot. The only reason he doesn't rank higher is just because I like these people just a little bit more. Because we've now gotten into the top tier Bond villains. These top 10, I don't think any of them I have a problem with. Okay, number 9, I got Le Chiffre from Casino Royale. Mads Mikkelsen is just the man. I mean, he's just awesome. And honestly, I think if this movie, if Casino Royale would have been made now, granted, maybe it wouldn't have been as good just of the times and everything. I mean, because something special happened where everything just mixed well together in 2006 to make that movie. But here, I think about Mads Mikkelsen older playing Le Chiffre. That might have been cool. But I love his performance is so subdued in a way, but it's really cool. And the main thing for me is just the poker playing. I mean, I've seen Rounders, and I like Rounders, and there's a few other movies I have that deal with poker, but the Casino Royale poker, it's Martin Campbell did a great job of every time poker's being played in that movie, you're just all in. And it's like I said, Le Chiffre's not the best villain, and this is the first Bond that we got with Daniel Craig. And when you're thinking about it, you're like, why am I really so invested in this? Like, it's not like James Bond's going to die if he doesn't win this. It's just that Le Chiffre basically gets away and gets the money. But you're so invested in every hand, you're like, oh, okay. And the way they kind of flip back and forth, and James, like, he doesn't start off by winning a whole lot, and the had to tell, and then it's like, oh, you thought I was doing this, and I played you. All cool stuff. And the interrogation scene is pretty great. My biggest thing is I wish, and there's no way to really do this, but I wonder what could have been if Le Chiffre, let's say, didn't die, but maybe he was like captured or knocked out or whatever at the end of Casino Royale, and then like it's revealed later that he's actually the head of all Spectre, and he kind of was posing as like a not in charge, and he's actually Blofeld. Because Christoph Waltz did not play a good Blofeld, but think about the way Le Chiffre was played by Mads Mikkelsen. That kind of personality and tone would be a perfect Blofeld. So that's my shocking opinion. If you get anything out of this video, it's that, put that out there. I'm just doing a big what if Mads Mikkelsen would have played Blofeld. Spectre probably would be a great all-time Bond film. Just saying. Okay, number 8. I got Silva from Skyfall, played by Javier Bardem. He's grown on me, because when I first saw Skyfall, I liked the movie a lot, but I would have never been like, oh, Silva's one of the best villains. I mean, I liked him, but I think the movie hadn't been out long enough for me to really process, because when everything's new, it's just like, something could be the best thing ever when you just see it, or it could be the worst thing ever when you just see it. And you do need another viewing and time to kind of marinate on it to be like, okay, how do I really feel about it? And for me, I like Silva's motivation, the fact that he's got a problem with M, that M is so like, oh, you were doing this, and it was you were doing a bad thing, so I basically turned you over to the Chinese and was like, just basically said, screw you. And I can understand why he feels so betrayed, and he, did a cyanide capsule, and it, obviously he didn't die from it, but it jacked up his face, his mouth. I think all that stuff's great. I like his motivation. I like what he can do. He's a tech expert, and it makes sense if he was working for MI6 as, I don't know if they necessarily say he's a 00. I mean, James says like you were Hong Kong division or something. He might have been a 00 agent, but maybe he wasn't. I'm not sure. Maybe he was just part of MI6 working in a separate thing. Like maybe he was like kind of a Q branch guy. I don't know. Someone clarify that in the comments if you know and I don't. But I guess the only thing that kind of brings him down is the climax. Is I don't love the climax at the Skyfall Ranch, but aside from that, I think he's cool. He's got some really good lines. I mean, one of my favorites is when he blows the hole in the train. Why can't I think of it? The subway, and basically James is like, was that for me? And he was like, no, but that is. And the train actually comes through the hole. I'm like, that's cool. Javier Bardem, good villain stuff. And yeah, he's terrifying in a way. Like when he gets M, and instead of just like shooting her outright, he like does the weird thing where he like puts their heads together. He's like, do it, free both of us. It's just like, it's creepy. Like how much he's intense about M. It's like an ex-boyfriend, but it's almost worse because it's like she was his boss. So I think in a weird, I mean, I know no one's saying this, but I think in a weird way, he was also, even though she's way older, he was like sexually attracted to him because there's some weirdness there. It's more than just betrayal. There's some weirdness there. Okay, and that all plays to like his character just being unique and freaky. Okay, number 7, I got Scaramanga, played by Christopher Lee, the man with the golden gun. He's just great, and he's the redeeming quality of that movie. And honestly, over time, that movie might climb in my rankings just for the fact of he's just cool to watch. He doesn't even have to say anything that's all that amazing. It's just cool to watch Christopher Lee walk around. When he confronts Bond, he tells him, he's like, you like killing just as much as I do. He's like, well, so why not just admit it? Like, because James will act like, nah, like that's, I just do it because it's my job. And it's like, well, you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't get a kick out of it. Like, you like this stuff. Just admit it. My favorite scene with him in it is probably them being at the kickboxing match and him introducing himself, and he's got the white suit. I'd want to get that white suit because it looks clean to me. I'd be curious what David from the Bond Experience, because I know he's big into Bond fashion. I'd be curious what he thinks about that. He might say something like Christopher Lee is the only guy that could pull that suit off, but Christopher Lee's just a badass. Played 3 villains in 3 of the biggest franchises ever: Bond, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. So he was a great actor, and yeah, I do think they kind of wasted Scaramanga. That if this was a better quality film, he'd be maybe a top 3 Bond villain, and then Man with the Golden Gun, if there was a better script, this might be like a top 5 Bond movie just because of how great he is in this movie. But I like the whole, really his motivation is to kind of be like, we're going to find out who the best assassin is. That's like his big motivation for wanting James to be there. I don't think that pays off as well as I would like, because honestly, that climax in the funhouse, I feel like it's over before it really even begins. So for me, that was a bummer. But yeah, I got him at number 7. Number 6, I got Dr. No from Dr. No. And I thought about it, and for some people, they might be like, oh, you have him above like Blofeld and stuff. For me, Dr. No, he's got like a menace and a quiet, like it's scary. It's just like this fear when you're in the presence of him, there's like an underlining fear. And for me, that's what Blofeld should feel like. But when you see Donald Pleasence, I think he's maybe just a little bit too small and a little bit too out there. But Dr. No, like he's got the hands that can crush stuff. So like that's weird and that's like kind of scary. There's the scene which I completely forgot about, that he walks into James's room after he drank like the tea and passed out, and he like basically, I think he pulls his like blanket up on him a little bit, like tucks him in. Maybe I'm wrong. He might just stare at them. I don't remember. But that's all like freaky stuff. But the conversation he has with them, how he's the one that introduces like Spectre, what it is, and when he says it, I always remember just like, and I don't remember verbatim exactly what he says, but it's like special executive terrorist revenge extortion. I like all that stuff. I think I think Dr. No, they did a great job of kind of pacing him, where if they would have introduced him too early, maybe it doesn't pay off right. I just wish that Dr. No, like, if we could have got him as Blofeld, I think it would have worked. Because the way he did that in Dr. No, I'm like, if we would have got that as Blofeld and, you only live twice or on Her Majesty's Secret Service, I'm like, I feel like that would have worked, because he's super serious. I like when he says, James, like, are you east or west? He's like, just points on the compass. He's like, all irrelevant, all pointless, basically. So, yeah, I like him as a Bond villain. He's up there for me. Okay, number 5, I got Tomorrow Never Dies. Elliot Carver. So I didn't grow up watching Tomorrow Never Dies, but I just watched it for like a second time, and I'm like, he's just entertaining. I mean, so he's entertaining. He's one of the most entertaining Bond villains we've ever gotten. But the reason I'm going to put him above so many of these other guys is because part of what being a great Bond villain is like, I have to buy your plot, that you're like, your scheme that you're doing. And for me, his scheme is the most realistic scheme of anybody's, and it's honestly one of the most frightening. He's planning on getting 2 countries to go against each other, and he's using propaganda and fake news basically to spread it. And it's like, no one's fact checking him. No one's like, hey, where'd you get that from? It's like, if James Bond wouldn't have got to them, who knows like what would have actually happened. World War III could have started and he would have profited from it. Or I'm trying to remember exactly what, aside from chaos, I'm trying to remember exactly what he was trying to get out of that. But I know he wanted China was the last country that wasn't allowing his like broadcast. So he was basically trying to work on that. I know that. But yeah, I think he's just entertaining. Like I said, there's no scene in there that I'm like, I mean, maybe when he yells at the girls like, you're fired. But aside from that, I'm like, everything that Jonathan Pryce does with that character, I'm like, I'm all for it. I mean, he has his wife killed because she slept with James and he found out about it. And don't get me wrong, I know that feeling, and it's like, but I'm just kind of astounded how he was willing to go that far and like, whatever. Like, that's the way she wanted to play it. Yeah, like have her take a trip to the doctor. But he's, like I said, he just steals the show in every scene that he's in. He's amazing. So yeah, Jonathan Pryce, I really do get. And yes, he's a little bit over the top, but I'm here for it with him. All right, number 4, I got The World Is Not Enough. I got Electra King. The reason she ranks this high for me, I grew up watching The World Is Not Enough a lot, so I got nostalgia backing it. I have the fact that she's the first, I think, and only female main villain, so that's part of it. She's super sexy, but like the great thing that she does in that movie is I honestly, the first time I saw The World Is Not Enough, I honestly bought that she was going to be the Bond girl. I mean, I think everyone did. And she manipulates people so well, especially men. Like she manipulates everybody thinking that she's this innocent girl. But I actually buy her plot as well, her scheme of she's got this pipeline, and for order for her to make the most money and rule like the oil industry, she's basically going to pollute the Caspian Sea and cause all these other pipelines to basically go out, where she's the only pipeline that they can go through. And it's kind of smart, and it uses nuclear technology, but it's not like we're going to bomb the whole world. It's just like we're going to run this stuff and make a fortune from it and basically live like kings and queens. And the way she turns Renard, because they talk about it, but it's like clear that like she's the one that like Renard kidnapped her, and then she's the one that basically like manipulated him into being like, yeah, you're gonna be with me, and I mean, it takes a woman super sexy to be able to pull that off, and she definitely does that. And yeah, I mean, she's a scene stealer. Everything that she does in that movie, I'm engaged and like, wow. So yeah, Electric King, number 4. Number 3, got to go with Goldfinger, from Goldfinger. He's got some classic lines. Obviously, do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. You knew that one was coming. The other one I like is when he's like, Operation Grand Slam, for instance. He's like, 2 words that you could have heard that you have no idea what those could mean. And he's like, I'm not rescuing you. I'm not freeing you. Goldfinger's just got this, even though he's not an in-shape guy, he's just got this like swagger, and his plan is one of the best plans ever in a Bond film of, no, I'm not going to steal the gold like you all think. I'm going to actually like cause it to, set off a nuclear device that basically makes the gold like get polluted and decay, and then it's worthless, and then his gold's going to skyrocket in value. It's like, that's genius. And I like his plan, and every scene that he's in, it's like, it's super entertaining. His ranch is actually pretty cool. I do think we spend a little too much time there, but yeah, Goldfinger, number 3, he's what started, I think, like this is what a Bond villain could be, and they don't have to be tied in with Spectre and be talking about Spectre and all this other stuff. I like that he's his own man. He does his own thing. All right, number 2. I'm high on this guy, and he's the reason why this movie works for me. I got Hugo Drax from Moonraker. He's great. I don't everything that he says, I'm like, you have my attention. I want to listen to what you're saying. His plot, don't get me wrong. I don't see a reason to want to eliminate all the people in the world except for like 18. Like, that's not my jam, but that's what he wanted to do, and he made his moon station or his space station, and I thought it was cool. I just did. He always felt like he was one step ahead of everyone else. They were trying to crack down on his operation, and right when they get to his spot, he moved everything, or he's like, oh, you're going to have to travel across the world to get me here and here and here. I liked all that. His place that's supposedly in California, but it's really in Europe, but his mansion, his house, his estate, it blew me away. So that was cool as hell. The scene where he takes them like hunting, look, I know it's like kind of funny, but like, I dig it. I think it's cool. Seeing him like in the hat, like the outfit with the coat over or whatever, and the shotgun. I just think it's cool. And when he gives his speech when he's up in the space station, I think that's cool. And his death is awesome. Everything that Drax does is super interesting, and turns out he's one of my favorite villains, and I just wish I would have watched Moonraker a lot more growing up. It was the first Bond movie I remember seeing, but I went like 20 years without seeing it, which is a shame. Okay, and then lastly, there's one I've left off. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I'm a 90s kid. My number 1, 006, Alec Trevelyan, GoldenEye. He's really the first Bond villain that I got introduced to. Because like I said, even though Moonraker might have been my first Bond movie, maybe, GoldenEye I watched all the time, and I played the game all the time, and I knew about Alec Trevelyan, and Sean Bean is great, because all these other Bond villains, they might have a good scheme, and they might have all this, knowledge, or they got this special weapon, whatever. That's, the fact that you got the GoldenEye satellite, and he's gonna, do a big EMP blast to London and knock out everything, and right before he, does that, he's gonna steal, all this money from the London bank, and then before they could figure out what happened, EMP blast. Look, genius plot. Give him that. But that's not even what makes him a great villain. What makes him a great villain, he's got motivation to hate the British government. And then he is like, he's got this, like, it's not a deep vendetta against James, but it's like a rivalry where he's like, you think you're better than me. And then another thing is like, you always choose the mission instead of like your friend. And he's just got a beef with him. And I love the graveyard scene that they have together where he gets revealed that he's alive. I love that. I don't know. Sean Bean just does an amazing job the whole time, and he even plays like a bastard. Like, he plays like a slimy, creepy guy when like he's like touching Natalia, and he's like, me and James shared everything together, and she does a great job by just looking away. But yeah, Sean Bean for me, it's like when you go Bond villain, first thing I think of is Sean Bean, GoldenEye. It's just it's programmed into me. That's what I think. So until someone beats him, it's just the fact that he's 006. He knows all of the tricks. I like when he, like James is getting into his lair in Cuba and he like sets those bombs or whatever, and he's got him to the watch, and then basically he gets captured, and the first thing Sean Bean does is like, the watch, give it to me. He's like, oh, old model, or he's like, new model, huh? And then he disarms the bomb. I think that's cool. That's like all these tricks that would normally work against the Bond villain because they don't know what you're going to be using. It's like he knows what you're going to be using. He was a 00 agent. And I didn't realize this before, and it kind of makes sense, but I watched a video and they were like, because he was 006 and James was 007, 006 meant that like he got promoted and he's actually like a higher rank or more senior 00 agent than Bond in that movie. And I'm like, that kind of makes sense because he's got some cockiness where he, like at the end where he's like, you know what, James, I was always better. And he almost got James. I mean, James is hanging off at the edge. I mean, granted, like Sean Bean kind of like does himself in by going all the way down there instead of just trying to shoot him from up there. But still, yeah, he almost was better. It was very close, very close. And his scheme was like perfection. The satellite, how would they hide a satellite like that? Well, it's hiding under the water. It's like all this stuff was really cool to me. So yeah, Sean Bean, Alex Trevelyan, 006 from GoldenEye, he gets my number one spot. He'll just always have a special place in my heart. So anyway, that's it for my Bond villain rankings. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I will try to make more of these. I think now that I've done, by the time this is uploaded, I should have my Bond girls uploaded and my movie rankings of the Bond films uploaded. And with this villains list, aside from doing the actual Bonds themselves, which for me, there's only like 6. I think there's 6 Bonds. Maybe there's 7, but there's not. I think there's 6. It's not all that interesting to me to debate. Which I could do that actually. I could do a quick video about like which guy played Bond the best. I could do those rankings, which I might do that just now. Now that I think about it. But anyway, that'll be it. Once I'm done with that, the next time I'll be touching a Bond film is probably when the next Bond film comes out in a few years. But anyway, that's it for now. Have a good one, guys.